Shalom. First thing and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Noise in the gospel, brother, through the standard of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. Lord's will to be edifying. The apostles was going into the spirit world and life and death at the camp Saturday, which I'm actually subscribed to the live stream page, but for whatever reason I don't get the notifications, and I go online, I'll try to look for the page and it's there, but it's like it's not popping up in my feed. So sometimes I miss the live streams of the apostles, which is pretty much the most important live stream throughout the week, but I don't be getting those notifications. So I know Apostle Tahar was mentioning that sometimes when you subscribe to a page, it doesn't always pop up on the feed because Esau had what he called shadow banning. And I'm realizing that a lot of our pages are indeed shadow banned because, of fear of this truth getting out, which, it's pretty much too late for that. But anyway, with that being said, the elders and the apostles is breaking down what happens upon death. And this has always been a topic of fascination for me because, as a kid, I always wondered about, space, the different dimensions, and, spirit world and angels, and, always had a spiritual connection to those things. As I, watching things with a lot of paranormal, like a lot of ghost stories and, just a lot of stuff about, just different galactic beings, man. And I always had a curiosity as to where these things go and how do they manifest, which with Yahweh Shai, it's vast and in power, but I was always, as far as when the person dies, I was always under the impression at first, because they have something which is called ghosts, and ghosts and spirits are one interchangeable, but you got people that have different definitions of it, which they say a ghost is basically a familiar spirit that takes on a likeness of a person after they've crossed over, which tends to hunt, okay, like a haunted house. What the fuck are you doing, man? Which a ghost tends to hunt certain locations or certain, areas after a sad death, like for instance, if somebody gets shot to death and a house maintains like a lot of bad energy. Titan gas cap, that's weird, man. And a house maintains a lot of bad energy. Basically what happens is they'll claim that that's a haunted house, so to speak, because of the bad energy that transpired upon death, right? Then some people say souls, souls are spirits, which they're all spirits, okay? You have your spirit, then you have what they call familiar spirit, which can be a form of an entity that takes on your likeness. But I was always curious as to whether the spirit goes right back to the Heavenly Father, or does it linger on the planet Earth from time to time? And I kind of got my clarification now on it, because I thought, a long time ago, I figured that, the body, or that the spirit crosses over, or it stays for some time depending on the circumstances. But also, coming upon the truth, I thought that the spirit immediately crosses over into the fourth dimension, which is the third heaven or the spirit world. But now realize that's not the case, because the apostles has actually broke it down, so it makes a lot of sense now. And a good depiction of that was this movie called Ghost, all right, with the movie with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. After he got into an altercation because the dude was trying to mug him, and ultimately the guy prevailed and shot him and killed him. And then as he killed him, you saw Patrick Swayze's spirit chasing after the assailant, or after the said robber, but not realizing that he was a ghost. So when he finally came back, he observed his dead body, and it scared the shit out of him because, he didn't know that he was separated from his body. And you get a lot of accounts like that, just depending on people's story and their testimonies, that when people die, they don't necessarily go straight to the spirit world. And then some people, they depart to the spirit world immediately, like the account of when Paul was stoned It tells you that basically he was called up into the third heaven, but he didn't know whether he was in a spirit or still in the body. He said he couldn't tell, but he said that it was so beautiful there to the point he couldn't utter, or it was not lawful to utter what he has experienced, you know. So with that being said, certain people, hey, they could be on the planet Earth for a couple, like Apostle said, they could say they'd be on the planet Earth for a couple of days, man. You know, because I remember after my father passed away, and we was all in my room, and my mother had this little dog, and the dog was chasing his tail, which, I mean, you know, he do it from time to time. But my mother, she kept calling out to my father's name, you know, because I'm named after my pops, you know. I'm not going to tell my government name, but basically she was saying, leave him alone, leave him alone. No, she was in a jokey manner, but she felt that he was playing with the dog's tail, you know, and I was looking like, I'm like, yeah, well, you know, it is what it is. If he's here, you know, okay. But other than that, you know, it makes a lot of sense now. So the spirit world is very, very, it's very, very, how can I say it? It's vast and it's infinite with understanding that we may not fathomly comprehend, because the scriptures say that the things of the heavens comprehend the things of the heavens, and the things of the earth comprehend the things of the earth. So we can't fully understand what transpires in the spirit world, being in the third dimensional sense. But we do know that Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai are over the spirits, as the scriptures say that the Lord is the Father of spirits. Okay, so what you see here is 1 Corinthians 15 and 40, which goes into bodies terrestrial and bodies celestial and bodies terrestrial. Celestial means of the heavens. Terrestrial means of the earth. Okay, like terrain. Terrain means the dirt or the earth. So the bodies that we're currently in is what they call terrestrial bodies, because they're flesh and blood. They can die, with mortals. But celestial bodies are these super bodies, or basically like angelic beings, okay, that our spirit is going to inhabit. Because upon the body being separated from the spirit, the body can't live without the spirit, because ultimately it's the spirit that keeps the body moving. Okay, just like a house. Like, you notice if you go inside of a house and a person that's lived there for so many years, you can kind of still sense their presence in it, because their spirit inhabited that house. Okay, same thing with your spirit, with your body. So upon death, your body goes to the spirit world, you know. And remember, and the funny part about it is, when you're going back to that movie Ghost, what happened was that he actually saw the light. You know, the light was compelling him to cross over to the other side. But he was so conflicted with dying and being away from the woman that he cared about, he chose to walk away from the light to figure out, you know, to investigate his death and to give some type of clarity, you know. And when he finally finished his mission, which was probably 3 or 4 days, it wasn't months, it wasn't years. And then finally, when he did what he had to do, the Most High called the spirit back to the spirit world to be judged, you know. So that movie Ghost had it right, you know, because like I said, you got guys that have out-of-body experiences. Sometimes a man can die on an operating table and he can literally see his body, you know, like it's called an out-of-body experience. Like in dreams, sometimes you get sleep paralysis. I've had an out-of-body experience before, and I think I've gave this testimony before. I was at my grandmother's house, and it was probably like 8:30 in the morning, and I was laying on a bed, but somehow, some way, I was able to see behind me, and it was like a demon that was like mocking me while I was laying on the bed, and I saw my body like in a sleep position, just laying on the bed, being mocked by this spirit, and I was able to see it because, you know, out-of-body experience. So yeah, man, it makes a lot of sense. And going into this article here, and I'm gonna get some precepts. I'm just actually driving, so Salakia. But it says Ghosts of Flight 191, learning the spirits of Chicago disaster, going back into May 25th, 1979. One of the most horrifying disasters in Chicago in American history took place at O'Hare International Airport when American Airlines Flight 199 literally fell from the sky, killing all 271 passengers, man. Which they have no idea. I think one engine failed, maybe. You know, they said it wasn't any sign of bad or inclement weather, but somehow, some way, you know, the fucking plane just exploded or fell out the air or something like that. And it reminds me of that movie Final Destination, when the boy had the vision of the plane exploding, And, you know, he had the vision and he got everybody out of the plane in time before they burnt up and died. But the plane still exploded, you know, and there was no recollection of anything seeming to be wrong with the plane, but it was just you know, one of those ordeals that the Lord put it on the spirit to see what was going to happen, you know. But allegedly around this field, and I always felt O'Hare was just something off about that shit, man. It just seems Chicago just a dark ass city anyway. I mean, you can literally feel, you know, the spirits just wherever you at, because it's so much death. Like around my mother's house, I could tell that something happened over there a long time ago, maybe probably, you know, I mean, because, you know, America is really filled with the blood of Israelites anyway. So Gad, Reuben, Judah, you know, the tribes, our blood has been shed here from point A to point Z. So there's all types of cosmic activity here in America, man, you know. But for whatever reason, around my mom's house, it's just a real kooky, eerie, gloomy spirit around there, man. And it ain't just her house, it's just the whole entire neighborhood. And you could tell that it was a lot of death out there at one point in time, because you could just feel it, you know, from the air, from the density of the wind. You could just tell there's something hunting about it, because those spirits is unsettled, you know. So yeah, man, this spirit world is very real. All right, so let me get this precept real quick. Hebrews 11, because the apostle made an excellent point as well about the things being controlled that we can't see by the things that we see are being controlled by things we don't see. You know, so this is the book of Hebrews 11:1. It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. Right now, we don't have evidence to see wind, but we know the wind exists because we feel it. Okay, we don't see what created the sun, but we believe in a higher power because the sun is on our circadian dynamic, so to speak. It's on a solar time stamp, and it goes up and comes down and it changes. You know, it does what it has to do regarding the seasons, and it never misses a beat. It's constant and it's on point always. So that lets us know that there's a such thing as a power or God. Same thing with the moon, right? The moon comes up, does what it does. It changes its particular phases, you know, every week to the new moon, which is the new month, which is a dark moon that you can barely see, if at all. You know, then the full moon, which represents the second week of the month. That's a constant cycle and is on a perfect circuit, you know. But yet you can't see what created the moon, but you believe in a higher power because the scriptures goes into how the Lord is the creator of all things, man. All right. And it says here, for by it, the elders obtain a good report. Okay. Because this thing is all about faith. All right. Do you have faith in the spirit world? Of course. Because everything that we see was created by things that we don't see, which is the next verse. And it says a good report. And it reads, it says, through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of the Most High, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Okay, so things that we do see is made by things that don't appear. Like you don't see spirits, but they all around us. And in some cases you can see spirits, and really you do see spirits because you see flesh and blood people. It's just a spirit. It's an essence, a life force that's inhabiting our bodies to make us do the shit that we do, man. Okay, whether it's a wicked spirit, you know, or a righteous spirit. Spirits are all around us. Prime example, animals, babies, very sensitive to the spirit world because, you know, they're more in tune, they're more in vibration with the Most High. Unlike us, you know, we've been totally downplayed and convoluted by this world, by the wickedness, you know, and you know, therefore we're totally away from the Most High. But animals, they can indeed see they can indeed sense spirits, or sometimes they can see spirits, you know. Same thing with babies. Like, you ever notice that a baby will look at you, either they're afraid of you or they look at you with admiration, or they're curious, because, you know, babies are very, very receptive to the spirit world around us. So therefore, you know, they have their senses are very sensitive, so they can pick up on certain things. Like if your ass ain't right, a baby wouldn't want to be around you, man. You know, usually if babies like you, that's pretty much a good sign, you know, because babies, like I said, they're pure as far as their spirits being newly out of the spirit world, though they've been here before, right? But it says, for through understanding, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of the Most High. Okay. And it says, so that the Most High, so which things which are seen are made of things which do appear, you know? So yeah, man, you got spirits all around us, for real. But I never really understood the concept. I thought, you know, that we cross right over, but apparently that's not the case. Because when you go into the book of Ecclesiastes, it tells us that the spirit of animal goeth down, which means that spirits of animals remains on earth, because animals, they don't have to go before the Father because they're not in sin. They don't have a judgment to get, so to speak, because, you know, animals don't dwell in sin. But us, you know, we have sin on us, so we go before the Father and get our judgment. You see? But hold on. Yep, but it says, which are made of things which do appear. So makes a lot of sense, man. But also going back to that point, it tells us also in Ecclesiastes that the spirit, that the body goes back into the earth and the spirit returned into the Most High, which gave it. But it don't tell you a particular time frame. But the apostles mentioned that, you know, sometimes it take a couple of days, and then sometimes, you know, your spirit can cross right over, because people have reported that upon death they seen light. Okay, and that light is really a crossover to the fourth dimension, to the spirit world. You know, and usually when you cross over, unless the Most High puts you back in your body, depending on the gravity of the injury, then, you know, you over there to stay. You know, it's a great golf fix, so to speak. You know, but sometimes people, they get called back to the side. Like it was this one testimony from a brother I was, you know, I'm close with, and he gave the example of his best friend, which his best friend is in the spirit world now, but he gave an example. He had a friend, he said that I think, I don't know, he wasn't hit by a car. I think he was hit by a car and he died this time. But I remember he said that he died on an operating table or something like that, in an operating room. And he said he was dead a whole hour. And he said that the doctors, oh shit, I went the wrong way. He said, and the doctors basically told him like, yeah, it's a no-go, you know, pretty much he's dead. You know, they gave him a flat line. And how come, he said within another hour, his homeboy literally walked out of the whatever he was at, the morgue or whatever, somewhere he was at, whatever table or some shit he was on. And he said that an hour later, his homeboy literally got up and walked back into the room, man. I was like, damn. So he counted. He said his friend was dead for about a whole hour. So that can very well happen, man. All right. So yeah, this is a very very diverse world we're in. You know, it's very hard to understand the fathom of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man, and his greatness, because it's like, goddamn, you know, that's amazing. You know, so hey, sometimes, you know, like they admit it was some things that came out too, and they mentioned that sometimes when a deceased loved one may go to the spirit world, sometimes they said they leave coins and shit behind, because one dude was breaking it down. He said, yeah, my grandmother, she used to leave like coins, and like she had a change purse, and upon her death he was finding like nickels and dimes and stuff like that around the house. So I'm like, well, maybe that was her communicating with you from the other side. Okay, same thing when with Saul, when he provoked the witch of Endor to call Samuel back from the spirit world. Basically, Samuel cursed him out from beyond the great gulf, so to speak, you know. But he was able to kind of summon up his spirit, and he prophesied from the grave, so to speak, from the fourth dimension, and the Lord gave him the permission to do it. So yeah, man, it's a eerie thing, you know. But hey, it's all through the glory of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right, so let me park this car real quick, and I can bring out some precepts, man. Let me because I feel like I'm all over the place, you know. So salaki about that. Give me like 30 seconds, brothers. I can park the vehicle and do what we gotta do. Focus a little bit better now. I can focus a little better. All right, cool beans. All right, so let's go down here. Matter of fact, let's go Father Spirits. Hebrews 12 and 9. Let's start at verses 9. It says, furthermore, we have had fathers in our flesh, which corrected us, which is your flesh and blood, Father. And it says, we have gave them reverence. Should we not much rather be subjected to the Father of spirits and live? And also the fathers in the flesh is talking about the apostles, man. Spiritual fathers as well, because you got some fathers that didn't correct us, that didn't correct their sons. And the reason why their sons are all out of order now. But it says here, for verily, it says the fathers of spirits and live. The Father of spirits and live. So when you look up the word spirits, spirits goes into the third person of a triune power, Holy Spirit, co-eternal with the Father and Son. Sometimes referred to in a way which emphasizes his personality and character, the Holy Spirit, even though there's no such thing as a Trinity. And if anybody's teaching that, they're going off. But it says here, sometimes referred in a way which emphasizes his work and power, spirit of truth, never referred to it, the personalized force, the spirit, the vital principle by which the body is animated. And they tell you right there. Okay. So your body is being controlled by your spirit. Rational spirit by the power which the human being feels, thinks, and decides. The soul, a simple essence devoid of all or at least all grosser matter and possessed by the power of knowing, desiring, and acting. A life-giving spirit. And I always wondered, did the spirit of itself contain life of itself? And, I kind of got my answer, because I figured the spirit was conscious and knew things because, it's your essence. But I was under the impression that it had to be in a body to fully, to be animated. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't understand the concept that the spirit can actually see outside of the body. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that it couldn't, but like your spirit takes on the vital essence of your last incarnation, so to speak. So I assume through the mind, it's still holding on to those memories. So it's able to harbor some type of energy from the body and the Most High to keep a type of likeness before it dissolves and go to the spirit world. But ultimately your spirit is put in a body. Therefore, you can physically touch things. You can do certain things. And sometimes if your vibration is strong enough, you can do shit. You can knock things over. They show you in those paranormal videos all the time. All right. It says the disposition or influence which fills the governors of souls of anyone, the efficient source of any power, affection, emotion, desire, movement of air, of wind, hence the wind itself, the breath of nostrils or mouth. All right. So going here, it says here the flight was meant to be a nonstop journey from Chicago to Los Angeles, but it never left the Windy City, and it left an eerie haunting behind. And this is the picture of the explosion here. It says it was a beautiful holiday weekend in Chicago, and the sunny skies gave no indication of that horror that was about to take place. But the passion of Flight 191, including a number of Chicago literary figures bound for Los Angeles and the annual American Booksellers Association conference, mixed with the throngs of people at O'Hare Airport, they boarded the McDonnell Douglas DC-10 just before 3 p.m. And the DC-10 was a top-of-the-line aircraft, and this particular model had logged more than 20,000 trouble-free hours since it left the assembly line. But the crew was top-notch as well, including Captain Walter Lux, experienced pilot who had been flying DC-10 since its introduction into the flight 8 years before the first, Officer James Dillard, and flight engineer Alfred Udovich, who had nearly 25,000 flight hours between them. All right. So they're giving a little history of the ordeal. But it says at 2:59 p.m., it says the plane was cleared to begin its taxi into the runway. And then at 3:02 p.m., Flight 199 started down the runway. All went smoothly until the aircraft reached about a point of 6,000 feet down from the runway. And the tower control saw parts of the plane engine pylon falling away from the aircraft and a white vapor coming from the area. Remind me of Final Destination. It says a moment later, the plane pitched into rotation and lifted off. As it did, so the entire engine and pylon tore loose from their mounting, flipped up and over the wing and crashed down into the runway. And immediately the tower controller tried to raise the plane on the radio, but the American 191 Do you want to come back? If so, what runway do you want? But there was no reply from the aircraft, but it proceeded to climb normally, only dipping the left wing for a moment, and it quickly stabilized. The plane continued as its descent. But after 10 seconds later, at a height around 300 feet, the aircraft began to bank to the left, first slightly, then sharply. Then the nose of the plane dipped as if the aircraft began to lose height, and the bank left increased until the wings were past the vertical, then fell to the earth. And pretty much they go into it. All right, and it goes into how the spirits or how these alleged ghosts were harboring or hanging in the area. Okay, because it happened so fast, they probably was still thinking they were alive, man. You know? But yeah, this is real ordeal. The spirit world is very real. All right, so this is the book of Hebrews 1. Did I read that already? Yep, Hebrews 1, and I'm going to start at verses. Yep, let's start at verses 1, and I'm going to start at 6. It says, and again, when he bringeth in the first begotten into the world, he said, let all the angels of Yahweh worship him. And the angels, he said, who maketh his angels spirits and his ministers flames of fire. Okay, which the angels are spirits, man. Energy, they got something which is called a life force or an essence. You know, like that's why when they're trying to resuscitate you, they're trying to put that spark back to get your spirit that jump start. You know, but depending on the injury, sometimes the spirit is extracted from the body and the spirit can't go back in the body because, I mean, it's it for that body, you know. So that's the real ordeal. Matter of fact, let's look this up because the apostles thought that Yahweh Shai was a spirit when he was on the water. And it says, and they got afraid. Let me look that up. That's in, let's go here. Unclean spirit, which is a demon. Yep, Matthew 14, and I'm going to start at verses 24. It says, but the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves. And it says, for the wind was contrary. And the fourth watch of the night, Yahweh Shai went unto them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. So it was well known that spirits lingered around because, I mean, they seen it. They thought Yahweh Shai was a spirit or like a ghost or entity or like an apparition. Okay, because when you go here to the book of Wisdom of Solomon, it says that they were vexed with apparitions. As a matter of fact, we can get that. Strange apparitions. And when you go into apparitions, in fact, let's look up apparition real quick. It's like a ghostly like figure, you know. This morning kind of been all over the place, man. Salakia, man. It's a fucking morning. Look up apparition. Apparition definition. Yep. So the meaning of apparition says a ghost or ghost-like image of a person. Okay. Which they call that a familiar spirit. The appearance of something remarkable or unexpected, typically the image of this type. Unusual or unexpected sight, an apparition, like a ghost, a spirit. So it says here, Wisdom of Solomon 17, and I'm going to start at 2. It says, for when unrighteous men thought to oppress the holy nation was Israel. The unrighteous men was those Hamites, those Egyptians. They being shut up in their houses and prisoners of darkness and fettered with the bonds of a long night, later exiled from the eternal providence. For while they supposed to lie hid in their secret sins, they were scattered under a dark veil of forgiveness, being horribly astonished and troubled with strange apparitions. So ghosts, spirits, you know, the Lord was plaguing their ass, man, through spirits. So they were seeing things, man. Like sometimes when you watch ghost chases or ghost encounters or, you know, those movies with those honey, you know, like even a movie called Talk to Me, which is a very creepy movie, man, you know. But basically what she was doing, they was allowing themselves to be a medium or a medium house for spirits, you know, playing a fucking game. They was tapping into this hand and they was able to allow the spirit on the other side of the spirit world become a conduit, or they was a conduit for the spirit to channel the spirit through so they can figure shit out, man. And they was literally getting a high off that shit. They was getting off to it. You know, certain things you just don't do. You know, like necromancy, which means worship of the dead. Okay, and that was heavy in Israel too. And you got a lot of black women that's into that shit. You know, they'll go and celebrate their ancestors, and they will be in the graveyard and, you know, spirit cooking and all that other stuff, man. That stuff brings about bad omens, you know. So this is the book of Deuteronomy 18, and I'm going to start at 9. It says, "For when thou art coming to the land which Yahweh thy power giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after their abominations of those nations. For there shall not be found any among you one that maketh his son or daughter pass through the fire, or that uses divination, which is sorcery, or the absorber of times, or a witch, or an enchanter, or a witch." And that's heavy among the J community. And this is why the Most High is warning them, man. Okay, like every 1 out of 5 black women are into some type of spirituality. Especially here in Kansas City, all these black women here, all of them into some type of spirituality, man. You know, basically witches. So if a chick tell you, "Oh, I'm spiritual," she's basically saying she's a witch. And they be into all types of shit. And a lot of them don't even know what the hell they're involved in. You know, they just look at it as some type of divine feminine energy, and that they can get men under the rule of thumb. And most of them join that shit because they don't want to submit to the men. Okay, they believe in that divine feminine energy bullshit, which the Most High is a masculine spirit. But it says, "Or a charmer or a consultant with familiar spirits," meaning a psychic, "or a wizard or a necromancer," which a necromancer is a person that worships the dead or study the dead. Okay, it's something called it's called the I think it's called the necro something. I can't remember the last word. I can't pronounce it. But basically, it's called the Book of the Dead, the necromancer or something like that. It's called the Book of the Dead. Going to that movie Evil Dead, you know, with Ash and all that shit. Basically, it was the Book of the Dead, man. And the elites, they go into all that. You know, like the Talmud and all that other shit. The elites believe in all that, man, because it's witchcraft. All right, it says, "For all that do these things are an abomination unto Yahweh thy power, because of the abominations of the Lord thy power doth drive them out before thee, and thou shalt be perfect with Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai," man. All right, so yeah, the spirit world is very real. You know, it's nothing to be trifled with, man. All right, it's, and I got a feeling that, you know, when push come to shove, Wisdom of Solomon 17 is getting ready to take place again right here in this Egypt. And this time it's going to be on a whole different level. Okay, remember, Egypt then was just a couple of provinces. We got 50 provinces here, man. And all these people got demons on them. They on medication. They tapping into dark arts and magic. The Lord is going to pull the veil very thin on this place. Between the 4th and 3rd dimension, the Lord is going to merge them shits, man. You literally going to see spirits out here walking around, putting people to death and possessing people, man. And you can see it now, you know, just through people's actions. So, hey, brother, stay locked into the spirit. Stay prayed up. We almost out of here. And with that, shalom.